Hello, ladies and gentlemen. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how you can double your lead lists using the waterfall enrichment process. But with that being said, let's just get right into it. Now, this is going to be a quick video because there honestly isn't that much to go off. This isn't really like a complicated process. It just kind of involves doing more work and therefore getting more leads. But basically, what you're looking at right now is pretty much how most people do cold email. Now, almost everybody scrapes from a database like Apollo. It might not be Apollo for you. You might be using Lusha, or you might be using ZoomInfo. You might be using any of the other databases. Maybe you're using, I don't know, any of the other competitors. But from what I've seen, Apollo is the #1 most common data source. It's also the cheapest, so it's the one that's the most scrapable. And they'll turn on settings like this. Every platform has something like this, which is basically where you're only sending to verified emails and likely to engage emails. What this means is when you export from the platform, you're only exporting the contacts which have emails. So sometimes a platform might be aware that, I don't know, like Joe Schmo works at, X company, but they're not aware of Joe Schmo's email address. So what this setting does is it makes sure that every lead you scrape actually has an email address associated to it. And then what they do is they go through something like an SMTP verifier, maybe Million verifier, maybe it's debounce, maybe it's never bounce, maybe it's list clean, and that's the process they take. Then for the good emails, they start sending to those leads. These are the emails that they put into their cold email sequence. With the risky emails, also known as catch-all, they go to trash, and for the bad emails, they just throw them out as well, okay? Now, this process is, again, what everybody teaches. It's the simplest process, the cheapest process, the fastest process, but it is not the best process. And as everything is in life, if you want the best, you're going to have to spend more money, more time, and more effort. Okay. Now, this is the process that everybody else does. This is the process that we do in our agency. And you can tell that the process that everybody else does pales in comparison. Okay. Now, let's go through what it is exactly that we do. Now, we start off at the core database as Apollo every single time. It's the cheapest to scrape, it's the easiest to scrape, and it has a ton of data, okay? We actually leave these two settings off though, meaning whatever number Apollo shows you is the number of leads that we're actually gonna export. This alone gives you double the opportunity in order to go and get leads that you could actually get in contact with, okay? Then we go and we take the ones that have emails and we go through that process, and the ones that don't have emails, we go through another process. We're going to get right back to the video, but just give me a minute to tell you about Borks.io. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Borks.io is my lead generation agency that functions completely on a pay per qualified call basis, meaning you only pay us when we book you a qualified call with a prospect that wants to work with you. This is the same thing that we've done for Adam. We booked Adam 9 qualified calls in just 2 weeks. Brandon, 7 qualified calls in 10 days. We managed to get Jay 6 meetings and 37 interested prospects in 72 hours. We managed to get Damien 5 to 10 calls a week. We took Kareem from signing an extra 3 clients to an extra 8 clients. Toli, we got Toli 1 to 2 clients a day. Michael, 17 meetings in 2 weeks. Right here, 50 positive or 50 interested prospects, 48 interested prospects, 169 interested prospects, 99 interested prospects. On here, 50% of all responses interested. Right here, 12.5% of all interested responses interested. 16%, 22%, 29%, 61%, 11%, 27%, 8%, 27%, 13%. This is one of our calendars. Boom, a bunch of meetings. Right here, brand doing 100 to 300K a month. Right here, another brand doing 50 to 100K a month. Right here, another brand doing 10 to 50K a month. Right here, 5 to 10 headcount company. Right here, 16 interested prospects, 21 interested prospects. This is the case study of Jay Jones that I showed above. Right here, 50 to 200K a month. Right here, 20 to 50K a month. Right here, 20 to 50K a month. Another 500K per month plus. Boom, a bunch of meetings. Here's another one, $50,000 current MRR. Right here, $100,000 current MRR. $50,000 to $100,000 MRR, right? The point is we know what we're doing when it comes to cold email. If you want more qualified sales calls on a pay-per-qualified call basis, meaning if we don't get you calls, you do not pay us, then book a free outbound audit below. All we're going to do is discuss your offer, how your business works, and if it makes sense, we're going to give you an offer. Worst case scenario, you're going to get 30 minutes of completely free advice at no charge. Best case scenario, we're going to book you a ton of meetings and you're never going to regret it. But with that being said, let's get back to the video. Now, you guys have to understand the concept of not having an email. Just because of the fact that the prospect doesn't have an email on Apollo doesn't mean they don't have an email in general, okay? And I'm actually going to give you guys an example right now. Okay, so take a look at this. This is a data set that I just scraped, just for the sake of the example. And you can see that I believe we have how many leads here? Let me take a look. If we go all the way down, we have 1,000 leads excluding the header. And out of these 1,000 leads, you can see that some of them are missing email addresses. You can see it a lot more if I were, not that button. If I were to just do this, you could see that some of them have email addresses, some of them don't have email addresses. And you can see that right here, I've actually filtered it. So you end up getting from 1,000 leads on Apollo, on average, 58% of them are going to have email addresses. And you can see that right here, right? These are just a bunch of random companies that I scraped. 580 of them have email addresses on Apollo, but the remaining, as you can see right here, if I scroll down, the remaining ones do not, right? So you have 421 email addresses that just do not have emails. Now, typically, somebody who isn't doing the process that we're going to discuss is going to just throw these leads away. Now, not only is this just not a good idea in the first place, this also are the best types of leads, right? Because these are the leads that nobody is messaging. These are the leads that are never getting emails. And if anything, these are the leads you want to be getting in contact with the most, okay? Now, how do you get their contact information? Now, what you can do is a process called Waterfall enrichment. Now, that's the process of going through a sequence of other databases and trying to get the contact information of a person on a different database. Now, I'm not going to go through the full process because it's very simple. Like you put in 1,000 leads into Prospeo. This is this logo. Let's say Prospeo gives you 200 back. You put the rest of the 800 into Drop Contact. Let's say Drop Contact gives you 300 back. You put the rest of the 500 in Find Email. Let's say Find Email gives you 100. And then what you have at the end is really unusable and you can't do anything with it. And then you just get all the new ones that you have and that are usable and you put it into Million Verifier, make sure they're okay, and boom, you just increase your lead list by using these databases. And I'm going to give you guys a quick example. For those of you who don't know, I have a partner in my agency. His name's Tyler Netti. I'm not really sure what the logistics are on how this tool works. Like if you search George Titian into here and then you put Borks.io, which is my agency, it thinks that this is risky, meaning it's not sure if George at Borks actually exists on this domain. But if you put Tyler, and by the way, George at Borks does exist on this domain, but if you put Tyler Nanetti, it knows for a fact that Tyler at Borks exists, and it is indeed correct. Meaning this software is basically able to determine whether an email address does or does not exist. And all of these softwares have their own data sets, and therefore you can validate emails separately, right? Meaning if this database doesn't have it, doesn't mean the other ones won't have it. That's the whole concept. That's why it's called a waterfall enrichment process, because whatever Prospeo doesn't have, you check Drop Contact. Whatever Drop Contact doesn't have, you check Find Email. And ideally, you make this process even longer, but we only have it 3 steps because we also don't want to spend $5 million on our lead lists, okay? And that's the premise of how this works. Now, what we do with the emails what we do with the leads that do have emails is we Million Verify them right away, okay? Then, for the good emails, we prepare those for sending. The ones that come back from Million Verifier is good, we prepare those for sending. The ones that are risky, we can actually put them through Scrubby, which is a catch-all verifier. Now, for those of you who don't know what catch-all is, basically, long story short, it is a setting that you can turn on a domain, which will forward all emails to email addresses that don't exist to one primary inbox. Meaning, there's no person at Borks, which is my agency, called Bob. So if you email bob@borks.io, that person does not exist. But instead of your email bouncing, that email will be forwarded to our catch-all inbox, which ensures that we get every single email that is sent to our domain. Okay, so that's kind of the concept of that. Now, what Scrubby is it's a tool that's able to determine whether it's a catch-all or whether it just doesn't exist at all, right? And obviously, you don't want to be emailing addresses that don't exist, and that's exactly what Scrubby does for you. Now, for the leads that are valid, we go and we start queuing those to be sent, just like we did here. And for the ones that are invalid, meaning they don't exist, we put them through Prospeo, Drop Contact, and Find Email to try to find them before we just throw them out. Okay, and that's kind of how that works. Then for the emails that are bad, this doesn't mean that that person doesn't exist. This means that that email doesn't exist, right? So right here, right, Tyler, maybe the email isn't Tyler at Borks. Maybe it's Tyler, like Nanetti at Borks, right? So you don't know that the email doesn't exist or the person doesn't exist just because this is bad. Just because Villian Verifier says that email doesn't exist, that person could still have an email address. You just don't know about it. So we put it through the same waterfall enrichment process to try to find that decision maker. And that's kind of an overlying perspective on how this all works. Now, I know some of you are thinking that looks like it's significantly more expensive. It is. That's kind of the trade-off, right? You're getting more data, but you're paying more for said data. So if you're launching a campaign and you know that you have a decent booking rate, then this is going to be a no-brainer, right? I mean, it's not that expensive to the point where it's unbearable. I think each one of these software is like $100 a month, and then you have Million Verifier, and then Scrubby gets a little bit expensive. But again, it's affordable if you sell a B2B high-ticket service by far, right? There are two things I want to mention before I do end off the video. This process right here is not 100% necessary. This is probably the most expensive process because Scrubby is pretty expensive. So if you don't have a big budget, I would just skip this part and I would just do everything else, okay? Now, I will also mention there is another software called ICPs, I believe, which is a software which actually connects all of the tools that I just showed you together, if this is correct. Or this might just be like another one of those tools. I've heard about ICPs quite a bit. For those of you who have a little bit of a bigger budget, I would also consider checking these guys out. But yeah, that's just something I wanted to mention. But these are the three tools that we use currently. And, we have pretty good luck with them. That's what we use to build all of our client campaigns. So that's how that looks. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. This channel is at about 1,200 subscribers at the time of recording this. So if you did, please like and subscribe. I really do notice every single person. But with that being said, until next time.